you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Health Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and today I wanted to discuss some more general healthcare or health tips, for women. Not anything in particular, just some general things and suggestions to live by. So, because we can always use some added benefits to our life. And, you know, I always discuss this as well. You should always definitely talk to a healthcare provider before anything. But these are just some things to consider and some reasons why to consider these health tips because of what, you know, some causes and effects and things like that. So, I think I'll start off by giving you guys some, I'll not start off, I'll end with my own kind of health tips of what I try to do, of course, because I always try to make these podcasts and this episode, the episodes of this podcast more personal. And so that's definitely something that I will get into later on in the episode. So, I guess this is one that I have been kind of dealing with, so I'm just going to skip around a little bit. But one thing that is very important is finding a doctor, finding an OBGYN that you trust, that you feel comfortable with, that you can open up to, who makes you feel, because it's really important that you feel comfortable in order to address your concerns. So if you have any concerns, if you have any questions, if you've seen something, because I think that, they have those commercials for all the different medications out there or all the different, methods of ways to do things. And so if you see a commercial and you have an ailment that one of these, medicine commercials or one of these therapy commercials says that they can help cure or, assist with, then you want to be able to have that confidence and that level of comfort and open line of communication with your doctor and healthcare providers so that you can say, hey, and it could be just as simple as saying, hey, I saw a commercial. What did you think about, what do you think about this prescription medication? What do you think about me trying this or stopping something? Do you think that, or if you're feeling some side effects or if you're feeling some new ailments, just being able to say, hey, is this possibly because of this new medication that you put me on or that we're trying? Is there anything else I can do to make it subside? And one thing that I have Kaiser. So depending on where you live, you may or may not have Kaiser. But I have Kaiser as my healthcare providers, as my, insurance and all that, my medical. And I really like that you can do phone consults and phone appointments. It's really nice. It's really convenient. So if you just have a quick question or a concern that you want to address, then you can just set up a phone appointment. They'll tell you, between, 8:30 and 9:30 8:30, you're going to get a call from your doctor and they will have time to discuss this with you. So you don't necessarily have to go in. So I think it's just really super convenient for me, especially with little questions that you may have. So definitely, I think that's number one, is finding someone that you're comfortable with. That's kind of like my problem right now. I'm trying to find a new doctor. So, sometimes it may be someone that's recommended to you from a family member or a close friend, or sometimes I think you get assigned them as well, but then you can always switch around depending on the situation in your healthcare provider. So anyways, I think that that's very, very key, because you don't want to not feel comfortable enough to address certain aspects of your health and of your body without, holding back. You just want to be open. And because you never know, because that one thing that you're holding back that you're not saying because you don't feel comfortable enough mentioning it could be it could be a deciding factor on what prescriptions you are prescribed by your doctor or not prescribed by your doctor, or it can also help them get to the root. It's really interesting how so many things, from what we eat, how we live, like our lifestyles, what we consume, even vitamins and things like that, can play a role in certain ailments that we may or may not have. So I guess that was my first tip, I guess you could say. And I think that it is very, very important to have just someone that you trust. So anyway, so that's kind of like my one tip that's personal and that I think is a very big chunk and a very big aspect and feature of having a healthy lifestyle, is having someone that you trust, that you can talk to, that is a professional. So anyways, jumping into some other health tips, is try to get rid of stress. Now, I know that we talk a lot about stress on this podcast, but it's one thing that, again, can affect other areas of your life, especially your health. It can, cause infertility. It can also higher your risk of depression and anxiety, as well as heart disease. And so, finding something that works for you, maybe it is unplugging from the computer, the laptops, the tablets, the phones. Maybe it's going on a run in the morning, afternoon, or evening. Maybe it's even just eating lunch by yourself. I know some people don't like to eat by themselves, but sometimes you really just need to just have a meal by yourself, even if it's like at lunch, like getting out of the office. I know that that's something that helps me kind of like diffuse for just at least, even if it's just 15 minutes or a half an hour, is actually removing myself completely. So at my other job, when I have a lunch, I will not eat lunch in the office. I'll even go outside of the office or inside my car, even like if I don't want people to walk by and start talking to me, or if it's like a rainy day, I'll just go in my car and I'll eat, just to completely remove myself away from the situation so I can just relax. Because sometimes when you're in the office and you're eating your lunch or whatever, you're at the desk, your phone is still ringing, emails are still beeping and things like that. And so you're still kind of stressed because you're trying to relax, but you can't because your phone keeps ringing. You know what I'm saying? So definitely considering your stress, and just that for me really helps, especially when I'm having a really busy or hectic day at work. Taking a 15-minute break and going outside for a walk and just literally removing myself from the situation can help me just calm down for a moment, so I don't get too anxious and I don't get too worked up, because then I'm stressed about how busy it is. And that definitely that's something simple that you can do. And so that's going to cut it to our first break. But when we come back, I have some other tips to share with you, as well as some of my own kind of like intermingled into all this, of some things that I try to do to kind of like help me be my happiest and best self. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health Podcast. Health and wellness, excuse me. This is all about wellness. You guys know I'm big on wellness as well. Podcast. So I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. So I'm sharing some tips for health, just some general tips, ideas, and ways to incorporate some health and wellness into your life and to live your best self. So another thing is to stop dieting. This is something that I think is really difficult for us ladies. Well, at least for myself, I know that it's difficult to, something that I really struggle with is like dieting and fluctuating off and on and things like that. And I know, and I've heard, this is something that I've heard just in the workplace. I work with a lot of women at my other job. And so I hear all of these crazy, I guess like fads and things right now. It's drinking apple cider vinegar to help lose weight. Or, you know, like the lemonade and pepper. I don't know. There's just a lot of different things that I've heard growing up or just talking amongst friends. And even now as a young adult, I guess you could say young adult. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, so is, you know, these crash dieting, these fad diets and things like that can be detrimental to your health. And it can also for your well-being, like your wellness, the wellness side of it. Because you don't, okay, so health-wise, you don't want to be depriving your body of any of the nutrients that you need by just simply not eating. But then also, you know, these fads of just drinking lemonade for weeks. I don't know. It's just, one, it cannot be fun. It's not fun. Two, you are, again, depriving your body of other nutrients and fats and carbs and protein that it needs. And then also, a lot of time, you may see some results quickly, but then you'll quickly gain it all back as soon as you start eating regularly. So it's mostly just about eating things in moderation, of course. And you don't necessarily have to deprive yourself, but having a nice, healthy balance of health and of exercise, as well as eating well and just eating foods, real foods. And what I mean by that is not eating, you know, trying your hardest not to eat things out of cans, trying not to eat things that are processed, trying not to eat things that are fried, just like the natural, like the food, real food. So, and, you know, and I do agree that sometimes it is easier. And I personally love frozen vegetables, especially when I was in college, because it was so easy because they didn't go bad quickly. You could have them in the freezer and then you could steam, you know, especially broccoli. I love broccoli. You could steam them. So, you know, you got to do what's best for you as well. But going to farmer's market and having the fruits there, and if you like frozen fruits, then buying the fruits yourself, cutting up the bananas and sticking them in the freezer so that you know where they stemmed from. Just things like that is just, and not having over-processed food really does make a difference. And trying to cut back sugar is a big one that I know is very helpful and just better for you overall as well. So definitely some things to consider, because you still need certain fats and carbs, healthy fats and, you know, complex carbs and a lot of fiber and things like that. And depending on your health and dietary needs, you may need more or less of something than your girlfriend that you work with who's doing like just, I don't know. I hear a lot of random crazy things and I think to myself, that cannot be good for you. It can lead to like, you know, hair loss. It can lead to insomnia. It can lead to a lot of other ailments because you're not eating correctly. And then another healthy tip in this idea of getting certain nutrients that we need is not overdoing it on calcium. So I personally don't like to eat a lot of dairy. I just don't. And I try really hard not to consume a lot of milk. I'm more of an almond, rice milk, soy milk type person. So I just believe that you can get calcium, a lot more calcium from other sources such as broccoli. But so, you don't want to overdo it on the calcium side of things because, with too much calcium, you do risk the chance of getting kidney stones and even heart disease, especially. So you just got to be really good about it, and you don't want to overdo it as far as like the nutrients are concerned, like adding supplements, not nutrients, I meant to say supplements. So, but actually getting it from the source. So, having calcium rich foods versus overdoing it with calcium supplements. So salmon, almonds, things like that. And milk, if you enjoy dairy products, then, milk and yogurt also has calcium as well. So you don't have to really overdo it with a calcium supplement, like a calcium tablet or pills or anything like that. And then, of course, we always discuss this, but, cardio and weight-bearing exercises, resistance training, as often as you can, at least 3 to 5 times a week. That does help prevent osteoporosis. It helps prevent heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. And it also, just makes you feel good. It helps you look good. It boosts your self-confidence because, I don't know, for me, even if I just work out once a week, I just feel stronger. I feel better. You do sleep a lot better because, of course, you're more tired. So it's easier to fall asleep and things like that when you are regularly working out. It can, of course, help improve your self-image because you just know that you're getting stronger and you're working really hard. And if you are trying to lose weight due to, health problems or just because you feel that you've gained some weight for whatever reasons, then that's the safe and that's the healthy way to get it done, is to exercise as well as, portion control and things like that. But definitely working out can boost your confidence. It boosts your mood. And so that's where like the wellness side of things come into play, is it's good for you health wise, physically, to be physically active and to just be strong is a really good thing. I think there's nothing better than being strong, but it also helps with the wellness side because you're starting to feel good. You feel better about yourself just because naturally endorphins and things like that, but also because, it's kind of nice when you slip on those pants that were a little bit too tight, but now they fit really nice. They're easy to pull up. So that is definitely a plus side of things as well. So then with that, I'm going to cut it to my second break. And when I come back, I just have a few other things to discuss and give you guys as well before we wrap up this episode. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast. We are getting ready to wrap up this episode, but before we do, I want to share some other things with you, some healthy tips for you. So another one, and this is kind of what I talked about earlier, we touched on it, but of course, going to see your doctor. So not only being comfortable with your doctor and, phone appointments and consultations and things like that are good and they're convenient for certain things, little things in your life that you just want a quick answer to, it's good, but you definitely need to actually see your doctor. Your doctor has to see you at least once a year, at least you do, as women, we do need to have a pap test to check, especially for cervical cancer, at least every 3 years, especially when you're 21 and older. And then you can also get your HPV test every 5 years for those of us that are 30 through 65. And then depending on after that, you may actually be able to stop testing depending on what you and your doctors decide, depending on whether or not you are low risk. And then also, if you are sexually active, you should definitely be getting tested for STDs regularly. Because, there are some that can sit dormant for a while. Sometimes you don't necessarily see certain symptoms physically that pinpoint that you do have an STD. It can just be, and something might be, and this is another thing that I'm saying, that you really want to be comfortable with your physician, because if something is showing and you are a little bit concerned and you have some questions about something that you see or something that you're experiencing, not being too nervous to say to your doctor, hey, can you look at this? Can you check this out for me, because I'm concerned. There are, you're just worried about it. And so you definitely need to have that open line of communication and get that regularly checked, especially if you are at a high risk of contracting STDs. If you are very sexually active, that's just something that's just life. It's just something that you should regularly do. It protects yourself. It protects those that you are involved with. It's just something that you need to do. That's just point blank what it is. It's safety. It's for your own health. And STDs, along with a lot of other sicknesses and ailments, diseases, and things like that, the earlier you find it and the earlier that you catch it, oftentimes the better. It's easier to treat. It can be treated, depending on what it is. It's just sometimes better the earlier that you find it. So making sure not to skip your annual checkup definitely is a good thing. And then it also allows, this is a good time to for you and your doctor so that your doctor can assess other issues. You may feel fine, but they notice something or anything like that. And it's definitely, this is something that my mom suggested to me too, is especially if you need to, you can take pictures of something, because I did have to, with my foot surgery, I took pictures of the scars and things like that, because it looked a little bit different than my other foot did during the healing process, because sometimes there are things that affect us physically that you can see or that you can describe, and it's good to write a couple notes down. Okay, for the last 3 weeks, around, lunchtime, I'm always having headaches and it lasts 3 to 4 hours. That's something that is good ammunition to bring with you, good facts to bring with you when you do see your doctor. So that can also help narrow and pinpoint down what may be the cause and triggers for certain things. Or if you have a picture, maybe you've noticed a really big bruise on a portion of your body, taking a picture, because you never know. Because you know how sometimes by the time you're able to go see your doctor, the thing that you were complaining about might have went down, like the bump may have went down, or maybe it's grown, maybe the bruise has spread, and you can say, this is what it looked like, and you can just take it on your phone. And a lot of times phones will date the picture, or you can date it yourself. And you can write it down in your planner, write it down on the calendar, and just say, hey, last week I took a picture of this bruise on my leg. This is what it looked like then, but now this is how much it's spread. What do you think is, I'm concerned, so that can give your doctors other facts. And because sometimes when we just describe to doctors, we may forget, or we describe it incorrectly, or we just say, yeah, the bruise was a little bit smaller, but now it's really big. So, that's definitely the more facts that you are able to provide your healthcare professional, the better, because it can help eliminate or, narrow down the causes or what certain ailments may or may not be. So definitely seeing your doctor regularly coming prepared if you have questions or concerns, or if you did try a new medication and you're noticing different symptoms as far as side effects are concerned, different side effects within yourself or of someone else that you love or who's been, around you, your family, friends, and coworkers. They say, hey, depending on your relationship with them, they might say, it does look like your hair is thinning a little bit. Do you think that it's perhaps from your new medicine? Then that's something that maybe you haven't noticed because we can't see the back of our head, or the tops of our heads. And so maybe that's something that you can jot down and you can, tell your doctor, I didn't really notice it, but others are noticing that my hair is thinning. Is it possibly because these last few months I've been using this new medication? It's just something to give you not only something to discuss with your doctor, but also to give your doctor as much facts as possible. And, it will help you receive the best treatment and care as possible as well. And then also some other things some other healthy tips to consider is just considering genetic testing. Now, of course, you gotta talk to your doctor about everything that you do. But, now some doctors can now screen people with a family history of breast cancer or ovarian cancer and other chronic diseases that, you can get your risk, see where you stand as far as your risk. Are you at a much higher risk? Or, and then start developing some preventative measures, some care to prevent that. Certain things, both of my grandmothers did have breast cancer and survived their battles with breast cancer. So, that's something that definitely is always on my mind and always of a concern for me. And so these are things that you can kind of assess your risks and see what you can do to help possibly prevent it, or just, just steps that you can do that will help put you in the best case scenario, especially if you have a family history of certain diseases and cancers and things like that they can definitely help you to, again, live your best life. So mostly having a good lifestyle as far as eating healthy foods and exercising regularly, as well as in conjunction with having an open line of communication with your doctor is the best health tips that you can have, because you can't always figure things out on your own and just say, oh, I just feel sick today. But then, with regular checkups and having those conversations with your doctors, it may be more than you just feeling nauseous all the time. And I've talked about this before also on a couple of the episodes previously, but you can also, there's certain apps that you can use. My mom had one that helped log her migraines because she was experiencing migraines quite frequently. And so it would allow her to log what, like the intensity of the migraine, how long it was lasting, when it would occur, when it would end. And it would track, okay, you've had a migraine consecutively, have experienced a migraine the last X amount of days. So then that way, when she would go to discuss this concern, she had it, those facts, that plain record there for both her and her doctor to discuss and say, because sometimes we forget things. We forget when we first started experiencing migraines, or we forget, oh, well, it happened while I was at work. Well, what time during work? If you work 9 to 5, did it happen at the beginning of work, the middle of work, the end of work? Did you even really remember? There's little things that we forget and we can't help it. So there are apps, everybody loves their phones or tablets and things like that. So it's definitely a way to help you keep track. And you can track almost anything. You can track your medication. You can track everything that you need to. Basically, there's an app for that you can download. So that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. I hope you guys have, picked up something that will help you lead your best healthy and well life. So this is your host, Pauline, and I will see you guys next time.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.